Hello everyone. This is the video number 5 of Django 1.10 Python 3.6 application development video tutorial. We have total video session is actually 9 video segment, and this is the 5th one. So for the folks who has watched the, the last video segment video tutorial, we stopped at here. Okay, so you basically launched the Django app. When you hit the Rango, you will see Rango say hello. Okay, and how we got to this point, we got this return by basically in the views.py file, we just return a common HTTP response says Rango says hey there. Okay, so that's what we have now. Obviously this is not the way it is right now, is not very useful because it doesn't do nothing. So what in this segment, video segment, what we're going to talk about is how do we leverage HTML templates to actually create a redirect where from the views.py we will load those HTML pages, or in the Django's what we call Django templates, and then to make it a much more, there's a little bit more visually appearing, little bit more HTTP, HTML, you know, the way to do the web pages. And also we're going to talk about the static asset, meaning the pictures and the JavaScript. Those are the static asset in the web's world. And we're going to talk about how does that fit into Django framework. Okay. Now consider, because I have used the week 1, 2, 3, doing the class repository, and I kind of run out the name of. So what I did was I created a new repo called YouTube 5, which is really stands for YouTube segment, YouTube video tutorial segment 5, right? YouTube 5. So it's on GitHub. Under the Plato AA, you should see a repository called YouTube 5. Okay. So the way what I wanted to do is to get back to what we had before, right? So then we can build upon. So what you do is you go to this and then you basically do a clone download. I know in the past I talk about something else to use different way to do it, but let's just do this, okay? So I downloaded the repository, and then let me go to the download, right? There's a YouTube file master. That's what I download here. So I unzip it, extract here. All right, now I have basically I have the YouTube file master. That's the one I unzipped it, right? So inside of it, there's a README file. Let me open it. So because I'm going to talk about follow through the steps, right? And also there is a Tango as Django zipped file. Okay, so let's do the follow the steps. First is create a directory called YouTube workspace on your system. So I'm here and I'm going to create a directory, YouTube workspace, right? And the next thing I'm going to do is to go in there. There's nothing in it, right? So the next thing it says is unzip the zip file tango.jingle.zip into the YouTube, right? So now what I do is I will unzip here and then copy it over. So I unzip here, right? So I unzipped it, then I copy this into the YouTube 5 workspace. Okay, so let's look at this where so I'm here, and then YouTube workspace here, right? I'm gonna copy this. Now if you look at this here, right, that's it. Now we talked about the last week about the bare minimum of Django framework in terms of the directory layout. Let me just kind of rehashing this to kind of give a reinforce the idea of uh, you know what look like. So just a second, okay. Right, so we have under the YouTube workspace there is a Tango is Django project directory. Inside of that there are two folders. One is the Rango, it's the application we created, and the other is the project configuration file. Right, so that's what the layout will look like. Okay, and now we're gonna start it with the Eclipse and follow the steps here. Okay, unzip it. After you unzip it, this is the directory. We verified it. That's correct, right? The Rango, Tango is Django, right? So then open the Eclipse IDE, point the workspace to YouTube 5 workspace. Okay, so we will browsing to this location. YouTube. This is the location, right? YouTube 5 workspace. So we point to that, then we launch it. All right, so now we are in a new workspace called YouTube 5 workspace, right? There's nothing in it, so we're gonna open the project from file system, right? And then go to the click on the directory button, YouTube workspace. Remember the one we just created, right? We copy the file here. So click on the Tango with Django project. Now I input. That's it, right? So that's how we input. Now, like we did in the class, we needed to set it up correctly. So let's set up this, right? So you have this is this property, right? So we want to set up the correct Python interpreters. It's gonna take a bit. It's gonna look for all the paths and grab the dependencies. All right, so now we're gonna pick the default. Is all you can just pick the right one. So we can look at this where the Python, make sure it's all correct line up, right? So we're using 3.6, so this is all correct. Okay, so now it's set it up correctly. Path is project name, Django. So at least from a project perspective, it's configured correctly. Okay, now there are two steps, right? The project itself is configured correctly, but next thing is you need to make the run environment configured correctly. So what you do is click on this run configuration, and you want to select Django, PyDev Django. Okay, so you double click on this, we'll create a run configuration. Okay, so the project obviously is Tango as Django. In this case, everything runs through manage.py, so you need to pick the manage.py. Okay, since you already know the directory inside has one, so when you click this, it defaults to that. Now, this is where the command parameter is run server. Now, I had a issue, or a number of us had an issue about get it run. It's always intermittently gets terminated. So I read a lot of online stuff. Some of the folks recommended to disable the reload. Okay, so that's what I do. So because this will ensure every time you run it, it will start it. And but the downside is you have to click to rerun every time you make the code change. Okay. So the interpreter, you want to click see the resulting command to make sure they're all correct. It's 3.6. That's what we're using. So this is all good, right? So all configured. Then apply. Okay. And that's it. So now I set this correctly, and I can run this just to see. Okay. So we will run this. Let's do this. Now where is? I thought I have this. Just a second. Okay. Run configuration. This one, right? So we'll select. This is the one we configured, right? So we'll run this. So now it started. Okay, let's get back to what we said, where we stopped. So we do Rango. That's it. Rango say hello, right? We also did actually the bonus program, which is the extra point here. We added about, right? We added about. So basically, if you click, you can go to the about. And it says here's about. Okay. So, but it really doesn't do much. I mean, all it does is, if you look at the module, it's just in the view. All it does is return. It returns, the HTTP response. It's a character string. Okay. Even we made it fancier. We just did a href, but the syntax wise are pretty simple. So next step we're going to do is actually to make the application return the templates, or pure, not pure, it's HTML. Okay, we'll make it a page and have the redirect to load that page. So how do we do that? uh, it's not a have to, but for a good practice in terms, habit. So what I do is I created one at the remember now, at the just underneath of the project folder, at the same level as a project configuration directory and application directory. I'm going to create a folder called templates. Okay, so what this does is this directory will host the HTML pages where the views will be able to call to load. Okay, and in the templates, as you can see, you will see it's actually pretty much HTML based. So it allows you to load not just the HTML, um, and also you can include the JavaScript and the CSS. So, and also again, it's not you have to, but it's a good habit to kind of, because a lot of big application, big project, it might have 5 or 6 applications. So to make it well organized, so I actually create a corresponding folder per application. So in this case, I call Rango, right? So now, let me show. Just now, you look at this, right? So I have a project folder. Underneath of it, this is my application folder, right? That's the application folder. And then this is the application. I'm sorry. This is my project configuration folder, which has a lot of configuration modules. And then I create a template. Okay. Within the templates, I create a matching directory which matches the application Rango. Okay, that's really the structure wise the folder. This is just, it's really for easy of managing the templates. Okay, it's not like you have to be this way. Okay, so now we have the baseline set. What we need to do is actually to create some templates. Now keep in mind, templates in the sense really are more or less just HTML file. Once we made it, how does the when we load reference to it, how do we know this is, because it's located in this? So the way we do it is we will tell Django, the project, in the Django project configuration folder, there's a settings.py, as we talked about last class. We needed to put some system project configuration file into this setting. And since we have a specific, we created templates based on, again, my recommendation, on my, I'm used to that. So I create the same level as the project uh, 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 configuration folder at the same level. So this is what you need to do. You need to tell Django project where they're located. Where you tell is actually in this. It's on the generated setting file. It's here, lines 57 and this piece. This tells where it's located. Okay, so specifically it's in here, in this piece. Okay, in the DIRs you're supposed to list it in here. So let me blow up this. So it's this where you're supposed to put it. Okay, so how do we tell Django, the directory? Now you can hard code this actually, because again, you're here, right? So we would have just, if we want to, we can just, here, right? So we're here, YouTube, Django. So we can just hard code this. This would be the directory. C colon slash user slash jack jwng02 YouTube, like this. However, this is a hard coded Reader directory, because if you move the source code somewhere else, that wouldn't be no good. So the way Django recommended way to do this is actually create a variable. It's called template path. What it does is you just take the base directory, right? Which is the base directory, in the sense, in this case, is here. Let me show you. Right, it's project file. So you have, sorry. So this is where your baseline. Let me. Right. So this is, if we're here, right? This is your project, right? This is the project. You want to say it's the project, since it's right underneath of it, right? So it will be here. They're in the same level. You see this, right? So they're I'm sorry, here, right? So this is your project, right? And then Rango, Tango with Django project configuration file and the templates. All three are at the same level. Okay. So what we will go to is, right. So how do you do that? Well, it turns out Django setting has a variable called base.dir, which is actually set in here. Okay. If you use debug, you can see this base directory actually is equal to this. The base directory is actually in here. It's this directory. It's this username, YouTube, and then the project. Okay. So now what we do then is to say, take the base, the directory base plus templates, right? Because that's what the same level as this, right? So you have the templates. You see this? So they're the same level. Okay. Use the project slash and then add this piece, right? So that's where the template located, directory located. Okay. So that's what we're gonna do. So we just put in here. Okay. So that's what this setting is. Okay. We tell, basically we told Django where the root of my template path is. Okay. So that's the first step. Next step is we're gonna create a template. Okay. And I apologize for copy paste, because this is because the speed, right? I want to get the video done in a more manageable time fashion. Okay. So first we're going to create an index.html, which is really the default landing page for this. Okay. So we'll create a new. Now here is a little bit trickier. If you go to the click others, if you, as in the video I said, install the J2EE version of IDE. If you do that, then you will get actually a web wizard, the web plugin Eclipse. So if I click the web, just like I did when I would do PyCharm, I do PyDev, right? So in this case, it's a web HTML templates. So you click web HTML file like this, and then we do index. Okay, so now we have it, right? It actually generates the templates for me. So if you look at this, right, so what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna say the title equals Rango, right? And the body will just, just copy paste what the online book says. So we'll just do this. Basically, it does a heading one, and it says Django says, and then do an href about, right? And then this will be the variable we're gonna pass in. Okay, so that's what the templates look like. So it's actually so many ways. It's kind of it is look like HTML. What basically what it is Django takes this and replace these template variables into the HTML content, then send to the browser. Browser be able to render it. Okay, so we did the templates first. Now next is we need to use let the use the views.py to let the system know where to go to to get this page, right? So what we do is in the view.py. By the way, again, please read the comment because it's very important. It will help you understand the system very well. So I'm gonna copy this over, and then we're gonna go through this, you know, a bit, explain this. Okay. So what it says is in the book on the online book says is construct a dictionary to pass the templates engine as its content. Note that key boilerplate is the same as the boilerplate. I'm sorry, bold message is the same as the bold message in the templates. Okay, so that matches up. So the you create a key, I put the value into the assign the value to that key, and that's how you pass that back to the index HTML. Okay, and and that's what you return. Now, just for the in the where is this referenced? This piece, right? So this, right? If we take a look, right, the dictionary has a key called bold message, and that's the value. Okay. So if we do this, if you go to the HTML, you see it. This is where it is, the bold message. Okay, so it's going to take the bold message, the real value, and render it out. Okay, so that's what really uh, all we needed actually. So if you go to the, remember I said you have to restart this, unfortunately because of that bug. So we rerun this, right? And if you go to this, that's it. There you go. Right? That's your HTML page with the, remember this? Both found from the context. Right? Now, to prove this is correct, and now we'll resign this, okay? Jack is doing the video tutorial. Right? So if we do this, now I have to stop this. Otherwise, you actually don't see the change. Okay, I'll have to stop because remember I did the no reload. So now as a result of that, I have to every time when I rerun program, I have to click the run. Okay, so now if I come over here, look at this. Jack is doing the video tutorial. Right. So now we know how to do it. How is the uh, you know the URLs, the routing through the views and to load the templates. Okay, that we have done this sequence of event, right? So we got this. Now, the next thing is we want to talk about is not all the things on the on a website are dynamic, meaning coming from some dynamic constructing process as it goes. A lot of them are actually static. So how do we from a system efficiency perspective, the idea is we don't really want to burden the Django app server with all these static asset or data. a file or property, however you call it. So the idea is put them all the static into one directory. In the future, we can read write them through the web server without ever hitting the Django server. The idea is Django is an application server. You want to handle the Django server handle as much dynamic uh, the Python portion of a dynamic content as possible. Leave the static asset. Let the the HTTP server handle that. Okay, so now to do that, Django also have some interesting way solve this problem to let the system know these are the static asset. It has to be dealt differently. So the idea is to create a static uh, directory at the same level as the application project configuration directory as well as the template directory. Okay, so this is what we do. So at this level, I create another folder, right? It's called static. Okay, now in the static, I'm gonna put a pictures in it. Okay, so this is what I'll do. So in here, we're gonna create some common readable subfolders. So images, where the picture goes, and then I also want to create CSS. Now we for video set tutorial 5, we're not going to use the CSS and JS. So, but I feel it's important for us to also create ahead of time. So okay, so now we have three category of the static asset. Okay, to show how if this works, then what we're going to do is we're going to put a static picture, a picture into the images, and then we're going to reference that from in our project. Okay, so this is what I would do. Let me go get a picture. I'll do avtech. I'll just pick the classroom. The school where all of us meet. Avtech, right? So let me get a picture from them. Okay, just save the picture. Okay, we got logo. Right. So now we have we download that logo, right? So we're gonna include that. Okay. So let me get this, and we're gonna put this here. Download. What the heck is it? Just give me a second. Okay, let me look it. Here you go. Logo.jpg. Okay, we're gonna put that in the image directory. Now, I mean, you don't have to be put here. You can put it here, but then you kind of it's just good habit, right? To kind of pre-categorize different things, and that way it's easy to manage. So we put the logo in an image file, okay, folder. So the next is we're gonna reference that, right? So how do we do that? Well, uh, go back to the HTML templates we have here, right? So we want to add a picture underneath of it, meaning under the above. Okay, so what we do is we'll just go back to, instead of writing it, or I'll just take the, so you just create a image source, right? So create a image source tag. Okay, this needs a little bit more need some explanation to this. Okay, so what this says is to say take the static, this will convert, basically this will gets converted. Okay, this will gets converted by the Django template translator. This will gets converted to this, right? So this is this. Okay, so the source equal to basically replace this gets replaced with the real static, right? Slash static like this, and then you have slash, right? Images, which is this, right? So this is the part of it. And then you say, within the image, there's this, within the image folder, there is this particular image I want to include, okay? And you'll see it. So if we run this, right, and then you will see the picture show up. Whoops. No, it didn't happen. Why? Actually, the error says, remember here, I says this would be replaced by this static, right? It's this static, right? So why is it not? It actually tried to say invalid block tag of the line static. Did you forget to register, right? Load this tag. Well, where do I do that? There you go. Remember we did this on the templates? Remember that? It's the same place. We need to register the static. So the way uh, the book tell us is this. You just go to the settings file and use these. I'm just copying paste. Actually, all I need is the first two. This one, okay. This one. So I have again. Remember this base? That's the project directory, and then you slash static, right? So project slash static, right? Project name static. So this is the project static. That's where static path is. And then you just put let the system know this is where, the path is. Now, folks, keep in mind, these has to be spelling correct, okay? Exactly as they are, because Python only, I'm sorry, Django framework only assuming these are the name of the variables they will use. And if you typo something, you will not be able to get this successful. And that happened to me a number of times in early days when I was learning it, okay? So that's what would register the static directory where the location is, okay? Now, if we go back to rerun again, see if we can fix this. Okay, because I did not stop it. Remember, it's no longer auto loading anymore. We turn the switch off, no auto reload, right? So remember in the run level, I added this, right? Right. So that's what this switch does. Now you have to basically reload every time because otherwise it just won't work. So to make the change, right? Because now the new change was be loaded. Whoa, look at this. So it says template syntax error. Why was this? Let me see. Did you forget to register or load this tag? Oh, here it is. Now, one thing, I did the setting, I registered, but remember I said this gets mapped to the static, right? In terms, it's relative to the project root, okay? But the templates, when Django renders it, it does not know because this is not you know a standard HTML. The Django template language engine, when it renders it, it needs to strip out this and replace with uh, pure HTML syntax text. So how do you tell that? Well, it turns out you needed to do a load static. So this is what missing here. What I was missing. You needed to, in the template file, you needed to load the static file, meaning to basically force the rendering engine know replace the static with whatever the static been defined in the setting file. Okay, so that's what the load static does. So now this will work. Okay, so it'll go back. There you go. Right? See? So it renders it. Now the picture still is not show. We just need to work on it. Okay. Uh, Now, one thing in the class, folks ask me now, I made a change to HTML file, but then why didn't I have to reload? Well, it turns out because this is HTML, it actually gets rendered on the client side, not on the server side. So that's why the no reload will have no effect for the HTML changes, but it does affect when you make change to your Python file. Okay, so let's rerun this just to do a, you know, so now rerun this. Right, so now we did this, at least it runs. The next thing we need to resolve is why the picture is not showing. Right, so we can do this is to click on this, do an inspect. So on this it will tell you it's images rango.jpg. So it's not, the file I have actually is logo.jpg. I copy pasted right, so I didn't do it right. So now I need to change this to logo.jpg. Okay, so right now let me ask you this: if I need to stop and rerun this? Well, we talked about this. We don't, because this is HTML and it's all happened on the client side, browser side, so we don't need to stop and reload. So if I refresh it, there you go. So now we have the baseline layout, which also will conclude the video's tutorial number 5, which is how to set up the folder to host the static asset of your website, and how to set up a template folder which will host your HTML templates used by the Django framework application. All right. Thank you for watching. And on the video tutorial number 6, I'm going to talk about how do we, now we have the page, we know where the HTML templates located, how to load it. We know what the static asset is, how to load them, reference them. And the next, on the video number 6, we're going to talk about is how do we take in the data, dynamic data from a database, and display that on the web page. Okay, so thank you for watching. We'll see you next video segment.